teeth, joints, head, within. But no one was coming up the stairs for him, for here he was now, far away, delivered. And that, anyhow, was something. The angels had kept their word.
He remained crouching there for a long while. Even if you live to go out and tell this, Nardo, no one will believe you. Do you think they will? No one will. No one outside of this room will ever believe the things that happen here. And the more you try to tell of what happened, the less they will believe. To make them believe, you will have to edit, to distill, to tell only the tiniest little portion of it. And when you tell only the tiniest little portion, why then they will be inclined to think, after all, perhaps there was a reason for this. Perhaps the police sometimes need to employ certain means and measures. This was the frog-eyed one speaking, the worst of them perhaps, one of the worst. He spoke quietly. I was doing some translation and some editing for the Torture Rehabilitation Center. And among other things, I was asked to edit their psychiatric treatment manual. And in it were a lot of case stories, and they were horrifying. And it might sound a little bit melodramatic, but I felt as though reading these case stories had damaged my soul, you know, really looking into the face of evil. And I had to do something. So what I did was I wrote a short story and about a torture victim. I brought the story to the founder and leader of the Torture Rehabilitation Center and showed it to her and asked her, is this okay? She said, this is the best way to get the knowledge of what we're doing out into the world. And so eventually I wrote this novel. The point of torture is to destroy the personality, to erase the personality. And usually it's of a very strong person. In the case of the main character of this novel, Bernardo Green, he is a teacher, and he teaches a poet, a revolutionary poet, who had himself been tortured to death. And this brings the whole system down upon him. And they set out really to erase his personality, to destroy his being as a man. And actually the thing that he holds on to is his love of language. He loves poetry, and his love of language really is the kind of life raft that he clings to and which saves him. Nardo could hear the cartilage that held arm to shoulder creak and pop. No, it will be worse than that. They will not even say nothing. They will seem to listen to you with the face of great sympathy and say nothing. But in their little heads, he circled his forefinger at the side of his own skull. In their little heads, they will be thinking, this man is full of the shit. He is nuts. That is what they will think of your tales, my swinging friend. No one likes the little boy who tells tales out of class. And he removed the cigar from his lips and smiled, and Nardo began to scream even before the glowing tip pressed against his flesh.
What is the significance of the title of the novel, In the Company of Angels?
When Bernardo Green is being tortured, he is held in prison through a summer. And then he perceives that it's going on to the second summer. And he fears that he will never see summer again because he's in a cell with no windows. It's in a basement. It's a dungeon, really. And at one point, he is ready to die. He sort of just lies on the floor. He's listless. His body is broken. His spirit is broken, and he just wants to die. And suddenly, he feels the presence of another being. And he experiences it at first as the breath of a dog that he once had, that he loved very much. And he looks up and he sees two angels in full regalia standing over him. And they apologize to him. They say that they're very sorry that he has to go through this torment and torture, and they are not allowed to take him out of the prison yet, but they tell him they have been permitted to take him out for just a few minutes so that he can see the summer, he can see the green trees and the blue sky and feel the sun on his skin, and they promise him that he will one day be free again.
What drives the psychoanalyst Christensen to so fervently want to help heal Nardo?
First of all, he is a psychiatrist, and he wants to make it possible for Bernardo Green to feel like a human being again. I mean, they have succeeded in their work, and the torturers. And Torkild Christensen is sort of the opposite of a torturer. You know, he has to try and rebuild the personality, and he feels that they are very much more effective at their jobs than he is at his. But ultimately, I think he does pretty well. There is an exchange in the book between Bernardo and his psychiatrist, his psychoanalyst, in which Bernardo accuses the psychoanalyst, who is a man of the mind and a man of the North, and he feels that that he will not believe that those angels were real, that they were indeed metaphors, but Bernardo assures him they were real, doctor, they were real.
The author, Andre Dubus III, says of your new novel that it takes us from the darkest, most violent regions of our collective behavior to our most exalted. Do you think that this is ultimately a story of hope?
Well, yes, I'd say it is, but hopefully of realistic hope. Because, as Walter Benjamin said, all stories end in death. But still, the characters are left, most of the characters are left at the end in a kind of a hopeful place. The very fact that love exists gives us hope.
Steps across her clothes, his thigh between hers as their eyes met, and her lips parted to draw a breath. He trapped her arm but loosely behind her as they did another volta, looking away from each other in one direction, in the other, and the woman in black clapped her hands once, crying out, "Bravo, compadre!" They turned again, and his right hand at the small of her back, holding her wrist there, became more intimate. His left hand on her shoulder, but always holding her eyes, which held him in their blue heat, and the music faded off. "One more," she said softly, as they waited for the music to begin again. She added, "Such a passionate dance."